Today I'm going to walk you through step by step on how to do a strawberry. This was a special request from one of my brothers who recently started painting after many years, and I thought, that'll be easy. It'll just take me a few hours and I'll knock it out. But let me tell you, it was pretty challenging. So I'll show you some of the errors I made along the way and how I made the corrections. So let's have fun painting and send me pictures of your paintings below. A lot of people think you have to be a great sketcher to be a good artist. Well, I've proven that theory wrong. I'm terrible at sketching. So what you want to do is look for shapes of the objects that you're painting. So in the case of a strawberry, it kind of looks like a triangle. So draw a triangle, taking up as much space on your canvas as you want. And then start to round the sides the way the strawberry is. And you can keep readjusting. And later on, you can go back and erase all of your extra marks. As you see, it's starting to take the shape of a strawberry. Remember, you're looking for shapes, and that includes when you draw the shadows and the highlights. So look at the object you're painting. In this case, we have a strawberry, and outline the areas where you see the most shadow. And just kind of outline it like I'm doing here. And that can change as you're painting, so don't try to get it perfect. Just get a general shape down. That's what's going to give you the 3D look, is the shadowing, so it doesn't look like a flat surface. When you're finished drawing the shape of the item, make sure to go back and look at the shape of the shadow and draw that in. And here you see I'm now drawing in the leaves. And through the course of the painting, I changed the leaves quite a bit. So it doesn't have to be perfect. It's kind of like a coloring book. You just do a general sketch and you can change it as you go. You want to add the horizontal line. I always use a ruler. That way I get it straight on both sides. Unless the canvas is very big, then I kind of eye it. Again, it's taking more of a 3D look because it's setting on a surface with a background. When you draw the strawberry lines, you want to make sure to offset them. So you might draw a row, and then the row below that, make them in the middle of the strawberry. So you see that top row, and underneath it should alternate. And as you draw them, the seeds are smaller on the sides, more of a slant, and in the middle they're a rounder shape. Choosing the paint color is a challenge sometimes. So here I have 4 different reds lined up, and you can see the names of them on the containers above. But what I do is I use the dark blue to mix in so that I can sample with each of the reds to see what the shaded area of the strawberry would look like. And then I also do the same thing with the white. Mix a little in each one to see if I like the different shade. So I'm smearing it so you can see, or at least get a better idea of what the red looks like. Because in a clump, a lot of times they look the exact same. And it's especially true when you start mixing in the dark blue and the white, you get to really see the different tones that are in the red. This is the Cadmium, I think it's Red Medium. You see, that has almost like an orangish color compared to the pink of the one previously. And you see a cranberry kind of color coming out with that one. And also kind of a cranberry-ish color. But you can see how different they are based on what the reds are mixed with. Now I go through with each of the reds and I add a little bit of blue just to see what the nice shaded color would look like. This will help me determine which colors work best with the strawberry. And so far I'm liking the first aisle, or the first row of paint colors. Yeah, so I choose that. I think that looks best. I like to do an underpainting first, and what that is using the same color family, just a light shade, medium shade, and a dark shade to get the different tones of the painting. You want to mix enough water in it to make it a thin paint, but not too much water. And mix it real well so that you don't have clumps on the canvas. It might take a few minutes. I should have mixed that better. Already I'm realizing the paint is too thick. I use a wide brush. It's about a 1-inch flat brush. So I try adding more water because I've spent enough time to draw the sketch and it's just being covered over. And it doesn't matter if the water drips down, you can just wipe it up. This is just an underpainting. Okay, next you want to go in with the darkest tone, and I made a mistake here. I should not have used solid black. So what I should have done was to use that dark color that I have underneath, the raw sienna, and just mix a tiny bit of black with it, or a dark brown in it. I go back a little bit later and try to fix it. And I'm just sketching over the original sketch in paint. Here I'm trying to thin it out to get rid of some of the over dark color you see. So I'm just using some of the excess paint in that dark shadow to draw the shadow underneath the strawberry. And although acrylics dry very fast, when you have a lot of water mixed in, it stays wet for a little bit. So again, I'm unhappy with the darkness. I'm taking a washcloth and I'm dabbing it into a little bit of water and rubbing it off. It doesn't matter if the paint underneath comes off. That's the color I should have used originally for the shadow. So I'm going back over some of my shadows. Once you finish adding the lightest light, the darkest dark, and the midtones, you're ready to select the paint. And that has already been decided earlier, so you're going with the far left column of reds and shadows and highlights. I've also added in a lighter red, so the red light is that. Add a little white to it to make the highlight. You can combine all of these colors to create a variety on your palette for painting. So here I'm doing the shade in the first red. I don't know why I picked the edge of the paper. It's not real practical. Keep adding a little bit at a time. The dark blue, the ultramarine blue is a very strong color. So it just takes a little bit to achieve the look you want. Okay, so I'm using the Cadmium Red Light for the highlighted areas, or the lightest red on the strawberry. In acrylics, you need to work kind of fast because the paints do dry very quickly. Now I'm using Cadmium Red Medium on the majority of it. You get that beautiful red color of the strawberry. And once you apply that, you want to smooth out or blend the two different colors together. A lot of times you need to wipe off the excess paint from your brush just on a dry paper towel and go back in and blend the two areas together. Now I'm putting the deepest shadow on the strawberry. This will give you that 3D effect. See how I'm blending that. And on the sides, most of the sides have a little bit of a darker shade. And just put a little bit of paint at a time and correct the shape if you're not real fond of it. And it's okay if you paint into the shadow underneath, because you can just add another shadow. That's a nice thing about painting. If you have a mistake, you can correct it very quickly and easily. And you want to paint layer on layer on layer to achieve the look you want. Again, I'm going back in with my lighter orange. It's very subtle, and that's exactly what you want. I'm using a small brush here. It's a small rounded brush, and it's more on the firm side. For me, I like to use a little firmer of a brush when it comes to doing certain details. But the best thing to do is experiment with brushes on your own and see what you like, what feels good to you. A lot of artists use blending brushes, but I found, at least the ones I've tried, are way too soft to really even drag the paint to blend it. I think that type of brush works real well in oils. And when you're initially doing the shading, you might want to take your reference photo, or if you're doing a live still, take a photo of it and put it into your camera settings and do a black and white photo so that you can see the darkest darks, the lightest lights. I'm just sitting back and looking at it to see what I might need to change. All these slight alterations make a big difference in the end result. I've stepped ahead a little bit and I've done the background color. It was a combination of a dark, a black with a gray, a white, and to finish it off, I blended in a little bit of yellow in the background. I thought I had the video showing that, but I don't. On the tabletop, I have it's not titanium white. I'll put it down below what I used for that. And I'm going back with the color and I'm just perfecting the sides because paint may have gotten over on top of the strawberry or into the shadow. And if you notice off to the left of the bottom of the strawberry, it's a little bit green. So when you mix black and yellow, which are two of the colors I've used here, you get a green shade. And I'm going back and reinforcing the shadows. If you look at any object, you'll see shadows. And it's critical to put those in to give it a more realistic look. Different brushes can create different effects, and I didn't want this to be real smooth. I wanted it to be a little bit, well, kind of choppy, I guess, with the colors, because nothing is really ever perfectly smooth. Well, at least in the strawberry, you see just the different variations of the light hitting it. So that's kind of what I gave there. It's a simple way to achieve that look. I apologize for the background noise. I have 3 stray kittens running around me. If you examine a strawberry with different eyes instead of just looking and saying, hey, that's a strawberry, but instead you start looking for the different, the I guess the details of the strawberry, you'll notice that the seeds alone and around the seeds have a variety of shadows. And at least in this painting, I'm not going for perfection in the sense of an exact replica of a strawberry. So the little seeds don't have to be a perfect shape. You're really just kind of giving the effect. So the first layer is a very dark because that's the shadow. And in the shadowed area, I'm making a little longer of a stripe with my brush. And on the top of the strawberry, where you have the best visual of it, I'm making them a little more round and a little larger. The second layer is the yellow seed. And on the outsides in the shadowed area, you want to use a little bit of a darker or a deeper yellow. And on the top, a little brighter of a yellow. And a little bit, we also go back in and add highlights to some of those seeds. So they will be the lightest light. Here I'm adding the lightest shade of yellow to the areas where the sun hits it the brightest. It might look white, but it's actually a light yellow. So I'm getting close to being finished. And you want to work in all paintings, at least in acrylic, from the darkest to the lightest. And if you look at this, you can see the different shading on top and on the seeds. It's shaping up nicely. Okay, now we're going to mix the paint for the strawberry top, the foliage. And I've already gone through the different paints and chosen the ones I think will work best. So this is a Viridian green that I'm mixing. All the paint colors that I use for the different sections will be listed below. But you can see the names in the paint tubes behind the little plate. Most of the time you can't get the look that you want by getting the color straight out of the tube. You need to mix them. Okay, these two brushes I've had around for a long time, and they're very raspy looking, but they work real well with certain things I'm trying to achieve. They're a hard brush, and I've cut them down as the different individual pieces of the brush stray. Never throw away a brush because it doesn't look good, because over time it changes what you can achieve with it. So I kind of struggled with my leaves. I had to go back and make some changes and erase some of them, as you'll see. But you do the same thing with the top that you did for the bottom. You start with the darkest shades, then you do the mid-tones, and then you do the highlights. And then you can have, 10 different shades of one color if you want and work through it. At this point, I'm realizing I am just not liking the way this is shaping up. So off camera, I go and I do a little correction so you don't have to see me suffering through it. But it doesn't really matter how experienced you are. You always want to make changes as you need to. So I'm trying to draw in the stem here, and it's not looking good. There's a correction I made. You can see how it looks much better. I've also added some of the light lights, and I'm painting the stem in a different place now. But I used exact same colors. I just went in and I erased some of what I didn't like by scrubbing it and then painting the background over it. I'm adding some highlights to the stem to make it stand out a little bit more. The picture on the left is my son when he was 5 years old. He's still just as precious. Okay, here's how I erased something. You can do it as simply as just painting over it with the background paint. And don't do it in just one color. If the background has a variety of colors, do the same with that. I added a new leaf in that area, and I'm pretty happy with how it's looking. So now I'm just going back and I'm doing some of the last little details. The brightest parts are where the sun hits, and they're a light pink, not quite white, and they're kind of half circles around the strawberries seeds. Another quick way to see the shadows and the highlights is to squint your eyes at something, or if you wear glasses, take it off, and that way you can see it a little bit better. So here I'm going in and emphasizing some more of the light areas where the sun is reflecting. I'm finished. So that's a flat canvas, and I framed it, and that's the end result. Thank you for watching, and head over to my website and see the different classes I have and the different things that are going on, as well as all the art that I've done.